So we have completed discussion of all five components of leadership, included some extended discussions of the different ethical models that comprise the fifth component. And we are now going to move in the final segments, the final five segments, to a discussion of five really contemporary models of leadership theory that are probably the most significant, prevalent, and useful to leaders today. Those five are authentic leadership, servant leadership, followership, transformational leadership, and adaptive leadership. So this segment will focus first on authentic leadership. Authentic leadership is really pretty self-explanatory based on the name authentic, and it is all about leading with integrity and being authentic. The theory is really focused on two individuals who have advocated this: Bill George, who wrote about it in the Harvard Business Review, and Robert Terry, who's written work on authentic leadership and courage and action as leaders. So the main concepts of authentic leadership, first of all, self-awareness, the idea that people need to go back to the ancient Greek concept of Socrates, know thyself. Leaders need to be content with who they are first before they're capable of leading beyond themselves. That self-awareness includes reflection and understanding. Through heightened self-awareness, leaders are better able to regulate their actions and reduce the impulse that they have that are natural impulses, and of course reduce unpredictable behavior and increase trust with their followers. The second component of authentic leadership is the idea, a concept known as balanced processing. This is an openness to consider all relevant information objectively, unbiased interest in new ideas, and humility. We talked about humility a good bit when we discussed virtue leadership. That ethical construct would be very squarely a part of and synchronized with the idea of authentic leadership. The third concept is this concept of internalized moral perspective. This is leaders, again, very hearkening to Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, the notion of a clear sense of purpose, very good values, having a very strong inner system of belief where they understand values, leaders understand values, and communicate these values to others in an authentic manner. Authentic leaders develop this they develop relational transparency with followers. This concept of relational transparency is the last concept, and that's the idea that authentic leaders are accountable for their actions. They are transparent. Through relationship to others, authentic leaders be perceived to be basically owning their mistakes and therefore trustworthy and, of course, authentic. George used five dimensions to describe authentic leaders: purpose, values, relationships, self-discipline, and heart. So there are some critiques of authentic leadership. First of all, many times leaders will confuse authenticity with authentic leadership. Sometimes this can justify aggressive or outrageous behavior in the name of authenticity. The concept, and of course, the other critique is this is a very leader-centric theory. And as we look at this from the concept of the five components, the attempt here of authentic leadership is to step back and look beyond just the leader-centric focus and try to look at it as a more broad view of leadership collectively, the whole process of leadership, and making that whole process authentic. Authentic leaders typically have a very strong moral core with self-awareness, as we've discussed, and authentic leaders are able to bring this into their work with followers, goals, and contexts. And so, how a leader's sense of self manifests through transparency and openness with followers is really important in that trust category, as we talked about. They continually develop and seek to improve, and they're not afraid to make mistakes and admit mistakes. That's part of the authenticity. Many times, highly visible public leaders, the influence of the leader beyond those that they directly lead can be a significant part. So the authenticity becomes more and more important. So we will talk a little later on when we get into transformational leadership. Authentic leadership really grew out of transformational leadership as an attempt to take some of the dark side of transformational leadership and make it authentic and make it something where leaders have these very strong inner system of belief, a very strong sense of self-awareness, and a very strong moral core that they bring to their work with followers and with goals and context.